injuries. I was actually looking at a lot of papers for the last 2-3 days, and there is a lot of difference between stamina and endurance. And these are the two words which athletes live by, because stamina and endurance is like their bread and butter. If there is no stamina and there's no endurance, there is no performance. But then both of these terms are linked to nutrition. Without nutrition, there is no stamina. Without nutrition, there is no endurance. And of course, healing injuries, we all know from our clinical practice how important nutrition is in terms of wound healing as well as other things that normally athletes face. Now, what is the difference between stamina and endurance? Are they the same terms? Both are different. When you talk about stamina, we talk about short-term goals. Like, for example, we talk about 100 meters, we talk about 200 meters, we talk about athletics, 400 meters, or when we look at a sport, say taekwondo, they're short time sports. We talk about fencing, they're short time sports. So each round may last maybe 1 minute to a maximum of 3 minutes or 5 minutes. So you require a lot of stamina there, the energy that comes in short bursts. Endurance is a different ball game altogether. Normally, we relate endurance to sports like marathons, team sports like, say, football, hockey, where a game goes for a very long time. So a marathoner relies on stamina, but mostly relies on endurance. So endurance is more related to time. Stamina is related more towards power. Okay. Now, there are two types of endurance and stamina, as we call it. One is the cardiorespiratory, the stamina or endurance that is related to the heart, to the lungs. For example, short sprints, like for example, in games like hockey, football, team games, where you require short bursts of energy. That's where cardiorespiratory stamina and endurance comes to play. When you talk about muscular, you have a different set of stamina and endurance here, where you keep using the same muscle again and again. For example, in games like rowing, which I had an opportunity to see in Alleppey, they have this special muscular endurance, as you call it, where their hands have to have certain power and hands have to have endurance. The hand muscles have to be improved. So when they exercise or do a lot of resistance training, they concentrate more on their hands. When you look at cyclists, they concentrate more on their cycling muscles or the lower muscles, that is the legs. So that is where muscular endurance comes into play. Now this endurance or stamina can be both aerobic and it can be anaerobic. Aerobic are the short bursts of energy that is required in the initial part of the game. That is when you require more oxygen and the energy is required because the body uses the oxygen for your stamina or endurance. Anaerobic is again where you do not require oxygen or you require minimum amount of oxygen. For example, if you look at sprints, it is an aerobic kind of endurance and stamina. Or if you look at marathons, it is an anaerobic type of endurance. Now, stamina and endurance comes from only two things. One is training and exercise. Very, very important. We all know that. Because how an athlete trains in terms of his specific training, specific exercises, the weight training, the strength training that he does, the fitness depends on that. The stamina depends on that. The endurance depends on that. That in turn, the performance and the winning depends on that. But the most important component of stamina and endurance is nutrition. There is no doubt about it. Nutrition contributes almost 80 to 90% of your stamina or endurance, as we call it. So I'll focus here more on nutrition because I'm not going into training and exercise because that's a different set of knowledge altogether and they're different experts. So I will stick only to our topic, that is nutrition. Now, nutrition In athletes, we see there's a difference between how lay people eat and how an athlete or a sports person eats. Now, for example, for me as a lay person, even with a moderate exercising in a given day, I may not really concentrate on how much I'm eating, what time I'm eating, and what are the number of calories I'm eating. It doesn't matter to me as much as it matters to an athlete, because whatever he does, everything will translate into the winning performance that he's giving. Now let's look at what are the 5 or 6 factors that affect nutrition effects. Now we call it as periodized nutrition. Periodized nutrition is nothing but when an athlete trains. Now we have seasons in training. You have game season, that is the on season, or the off season where an athlete is not participating in any competitions. So when he is eating during competitions, it's a different type of nutrition, different set of nutrition principles that are applied. And during off season, it's a different set of type of nutrition that you have to apply. Now, in off season, the training is very low compared to the in season. And what if we try to reduce the calories depending on the training, how low it is. Then we also call as the low training, high training. In low training, people eat very less and train more. But there are some coaches who believe in high eating and low training. So it depends on the coach's approach to an athlete. We periodize the nutrition based on the requirement of that particular athlete and the particular sport. For example, if you look at a sport, say taekwondo, it's a weight sport. So there are, or boxing, again, it's a weight sport. So what we do is, depending on the weight category of an athlete, suppose he has to play under 50, or he has to play under 55, or he has to play under 60 kgs, we plan his nutrition according to his training and according to his weight. And suppose sometimes they give us like just 10 days, he has to reduce say 3 kgs. Or sometimes they give us like just a week and reduce 10 kgs. So we have to gear up our nutrition plan for that particular athlete and for that particular competition. Now, when I say personalized nutrition, every athlete is different. One nutrition plan will never work for another athlete, and all of us have to personalize or customize our nutrition plans according to a particular body composition of that athlete and his goals. So if he's going into competition, then it's a different, the previous 3 days of 1 week will be a different set of nutrition plan. If he's not going into competition for the next whole month, then it will be a lighter nutrition plan. So we have to plan accordingly. Now, as you know, nutrition improves metabolic efficiency, and metabolic efficiency again translates into performance nutrition or performance winning. Now, there is a tightrope walk between an energy availability and the body composition. So you have to carefully plan your nutrition so that you don't go above your calories requirement or below your calorie requirement, because everything will affect your body composition here. For an athlete, a body composition is extremely important. How his body shapes up will again be equal to the winning of the in his own game. For example, I had a lot, if I want to share a practical experience here, we have a lot of sprinters in Trivandrum. Okay, it's an athletic center. So when we have athletics there, during off season, people don't bother about what they're eating and they continue to put on weight. When they go actually in competition, they have very less time to take care of their body, and most of them come back losing, because you have to be lean for an athletic, for 100 meters and 200 meters. Your body has to be light to run. So nutrition plays a very important role. It is not that only during competitions I have to take care. Throughout the year, you have to take care of what you're eating. Okay. Now, training versus nutrition. Training, again, you have to time your nutrition based on the timing of your training and intensity of your training. Both are very, very important. Now, nutrient timing, when I will be speaking later. Now, nutrient timing. So you have a time when protein is ingested. You have a time when carbohydrates are ingested. You have a time for fat. Normally, there is hardly any timing, but we mostly look at carbohydrate and protein. And the timing, we sensitize it according to the training intensity as well as the timing of the training. Now for stamina and endurance, what is the main macronutrient? What we're looking at is protein. Now I want to share a paper here. This is a very recent paper. Here, as you see, look at the grams of protein. This is the muscle protein synthesis. So when I was talking about timing of protein, there are two things. One is the quantity of protein and one is the time of protein. So in a given day, we looked at from 1 gram to 2 grams per kg body weight of a person. That is what we recommend. Normally, it's recommended for sports and athletes. Normally 0.8 to 1 gram is recommended for lay people. But we go a little higher for athletes because this is one nutrient that will hold your stamina and endurance in your game. Because this mainly contributes to your lean body mass, and lean body mass is the one that is going to give you your stamina or the power to run in a game or to participate in any game. Okay. Now, how much protein do you require at a particular time? A body cannot digest beyond 25 to 30 grams of protein. 30 grams is the max. But highly recommended is 25 grams in a given meal, coming majorly from animal protein. If you cannot take it from animal protein, then include plant protein. Now, what are the sources? All of us know paneer is a good source of protein, but paneer comes with a lot of fat. Of course, dals, lentils, pulses. Apart from that, you have eggs, meat, mutton. Mutton we give just once a week because it contributes to a lot of fat. Mostly it's either chicken or either fish. But milk protein is something that all of us highly recommend because of its amino acid content, casein, which is very important for recovery of athletes. Now, again, there is carbohydrates. Now, for endurance, when we talk about endurance or when we talk about stamina, carbohydrate plays a very important role because that is the one that is going to determine how much energy you have at that point of time when you require in your game. That is on your competition day, on your competition time. That is the one that is going to give you energy. So this is the division of carbohydrates that we are talking about. We talk about high carbohydrate, low carbohydrate, or very high carbohydrates. And depending on the game, depending on the athlete's body composition, we decide whether he requires 3 grams, 5 grams, or 8 to 12 grams approximately per gram per kg per day. And in divided doses throughout the day, we divide the carbohydrates again depending on the training intensity as well as the training timing. Now again, what is important here is pre-workout, post-workout, and recovery nutrition. Pre-workout before your competition or before your training. Post-workout, after your training. Most proteins are given after workout. That is post-workout within a window period of 15 to 20 minutes or maximum half an hour. What I have noticed is people who follow these recommendations win most of the games. People who do not follow most of these nutrition recommendations are careless about how they eat, how much they eat, and they do not calculate what they're putting inside their body, actually suffer in the end because the results are not equal to what you're doing. So it is important that you follow and calculate and eat what you're, be aware of what you're eating. Then there is the recovery nutrition. Recovery nutrition is something that will help you recover from injuries, help you recover from inflammations, help you recover from, say, post-training trauma. So all recovery nutrition is a new segment altogether which is coming up now. And this is where it's a totally different subject in its own and very important for an athlete. Now, let me talk about injuries. In athlete, there are many kinds of injuries. One is the wound injury. They just have the superficial wound injuries. One is the bony injuries, like you have the ACL, the PCL, tears, and those kind of things. The other is the fractures some of them have, which incapacitates them and sometimes immobilizes them. And there is one more, that is the muscle injury. So now, not all injuries can be treated by nutrition. Okay, but let me tell you one thing. A person whose nutrition is on spot and a person who takes care of his nutrition needs right from beginning has very, very low injuries compared to people who do not take care of their nutrition. So athletes, it is very important that they take care of their nutrition right from day one. Now, most injuries are because of either stress injuries or inflammation. Now, there is a third factor, that is the hydration. The lesser the hydration in the body, higher is the injuries, because water helps cushion the muscles whenever an athlete is playing. So whenever we recommend about 4 to 5 liters of water to an athlete on any given day. That is the minimum that they have. So what we do is take their weight and we minus their pre-weight and post-weight, and whatever difference that we get, that is the extra water that they need to consume in a given day. So the weight loss and that given day is because of the water. So we see that they are hydrated. Now, injuries can again depend on whether the athlete is an amateur athlete, a professional athlete. The age of the athlete is very important. Age, suppose it's an amateur athlete, the injuries will be slightly lighter. Professional athletes, you get quite serious injuries. And amateur athletes also, if they don't take care, they get serious injuries. Now, as you grow older, the healing becomes slower and lesser. So it's very important that as you grow older, you need to take expert advice in healing your injuries. Then gender plays a very important role. Women and girls get injured more compared to boys or males. Mostly ACL tears are seen more in girls compared to boys, because girls have lesser calcium and less dense bones, and hence they tend to get more bony injuries. Boys or males tend to get more muscle injuries. Muscle injuries, why? Because their hydration status normally is low. If they don't drink enough water, they tend to get a lot of muscle injuries. Now, what are the nutritional support for an injured athlete? Now, this I'm referring to My Sports Science. That is a very good website where you can get a lot of information, but I'm just giving them credit for this picture. It's a very nice picture. What are the nutritional support that we can give for a athlete who is injured? One is calories. Your calories always have to be balanced. You shouldn't eat more or you shouldn't eat less. The lesser you eat, the healing is slightly slower. High protein intake. Protein extremely important for healing injuries. We have seen in hospital environment also, where we keep giving a lot of egg whites and other high protein intake for for injuries or wound healing or whatever. Athletes also, it is the same, where we give high protein. We give them whey protein if they are not able to make up the from the diet. Or if a athlete is vegetarian, we offer them whey protein, of course, above the age of 18 and with due considerations to a good brand or a safe brand. Then we have the micronutrient, where we recommend D, C, calcium and zinc. Vitamin C plays a very, very important role, and most of the athletes take vitamin C because it helps develop collagen. And collagen is one thing that is extremely required in wound healing. So a lot of athletes take vitamin C. And there is a new research paper which says vitamin C plus gelatin, which helps in very fast recovery of injuries. Now, supplements. Sometimes we give them supplements if we feel that diet or nutrition is not important, and depends on the competition. If the competition is very near and they have to heal very fast, then we recommend supplements. Like sometimes creatine is recommended, sometimes, in most cases, omega-3 fatty acids. Beautiful papers, published papers, very well validated. So omega-3 works very well for inflammations and for injuries. What to avoid? Of course, you don't give more omega-3. We see that it is balanced. Of course, calories have to be, alcohol has to be very, very less. Most of the athletes sometimes go overboard with alcohol. And the most important is excessive sugar. try to control the sugar of an athlete. Very difficult because most athletes have a craving for sugar because their body is, in always in a very catabolic state, and they keep craving for sugar. So catabolic and anabolic, the body keeps yo-yoing between that. So the sudden sugar cravings come. So it is very important that we control their sugar intake. I have also seen athletes who keep sugar dabbas in their room and keep popping in sugar just to get that high from the energy that it gives. So that is something. And as we know, sugar creates a lot of inflammation in the body. So during injuries, we try to control sugar a little. Now, these are the papers, some of the papers that I have been looking at, and every paper just says the same thing. It is what the basis of nutritional strategy for an injured exerciser is a well-balanced diet. Whatever anybody says, whether it is a repeat mode, whether it is boring, whether it's mundane, or whatever anybody says, the first and foremost is the good diet and a good nutrition plan. Only second comes the supplements. So it is very, very important. If your diet is not on point, you will not be able to perform. Your stamina and endurance will be low. If you look at leading athletes, whoever on the international arena, look at Usain Bolt, or look at anybody, Phelps. Every athlete has a discipline towards nutrition, and only that will help you win games. Thank you, Janaki.
Doctor, unmute yourself.
Thank you, Rohini. That was very short and sweet. And you have given exactly the right points that are required for people. And I'm sure each and every word you have spoken now is of lot of value for the people who are into sports and who are also recommending to sports people. We already have a couple of questions, and before we go into that, I just wanted to. I was getting so many queries in my mind. During injuries, you said excessive sugar to be controlled, and athletes they have this craving for sugar because of their body condition. Can a complex sugar can be given, like fruit or any other form, in any other form? Invariably, they take the sugar.
Yeah, invariably they take sugar. See, we modulate between simple sugars and complex sugars. Simple sugars just before training or just before the competition, and complex sugars we give them during their routine days. So we make sure it comes from healthy sources like fruits or vegetables, and or sometimes we put them on jaggery or honey, and we try to take the refined sugar away.
Okay. So how do we select the brand for recommending the protein? You said we have to select the brand on based on the quality, and are there any marks or standards that we select the brand to recommend the protein to the athletes?
Normally what athletes do is they get a body composition done, and based on their body composition, depending on how much lean mass their body wants, depending again on the height and weight of the individual athlete, as well as the sport, both taken into consideration, we decide the protein that is required for a given athlete. Normally we go from 1 gram. We normally don't cross around 1.5 grams. Sometimes if the boy is extremely, the athlete is extremely lean, or he requires more protein in his body, then we go almost up to 2 grams per kg body weight.
Okay. Continuing with the protein, Neelam Jainish is asking 25 grams of animal protein per meal should be replaced with how much gram of plant protein? That is number one question.
Normally, we don't go into plant or vegetable protein. We just go into total protein. So it
Okay.
could be both animal or plant. Just don't cross 20 to 25 grams of protein.
Yeah, I think that answered her second question. She was asking, can milk protein and pulse protein can be clubbed together?
Yeah, we normally, athletes have no problem when they club plant pulse protein and milk protein, but not with major meals, they don't have milk. They have milk only either just in the evening after their post workout, and they have 1 glass of milk just before sleeping. So these are the two timings where they have milk. Normally, they do not have with meals.
Okay. So you have recommended this pre-workout and post-workout. Pre-workout intake and post-workout has to be protein. During workout, is there anything to be taken like sips of water or sips of glucose? Some athletes they take ready-made drinks, energy drinks. What is your opinion on that?
There are a lot of athletes who take just plain water. There are people who take BCAAs. There are people who take sports drinks between practice and training. So it all depends on individual athlete, how his gut and his body responds to that particular training program. Some people do not require it, but it's in their mind. I require this particular thing, only then I can work out. Some people genuinely require it because their energy doesn't sustain for such a long period of training. So it again is an individual consideration of an athlete.
Okay. So any more questions from you, Mayuri?
Can I ask?
Yes,
Can I ask? I am
yes,
Saili
yes.
Shah.
Yeah.
आप जो एथलीट्स की बात कर रहे हो, एक सिंपल मतलब ये परफॉर्मेंस के बारे में नहीं है, बट नाउअडेज द पीपल आर स्टार्टिंग फॉर वॉकेथॉन, मैराथन. इसके लिए लेडीज आजकल थोड़ा प्रैक्टिस करने लग गई है, या जो भी है, जेंट्स लोग, लेडीज लोग. इट्स नॉट अ स्पोर्ट्स, बट नाउ इट इज कंसिडर्ड एज अ स्पोर्ट. मतलब लोग पिंकैथॉन कर रहे हैं, वॉकेथॉन कर रहे हैं, मैराथन. हाँ, तो इसमें क्या होता है ना, जनरली सडनली दे आर स्टार्टिंग their walkathon or marathon, and they never know about the food and nutrition. And वो सीमेंट फ्लोर पे प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं, सीमेंट फ्लोर पे वॉकिंग कर रहे हैं उनके सोसाइटी एरिया में या 4-5 किलोमीटर आजू बाजू में, and they suddenly get the injury about ankles and knees. Mostly I have seen in ladies and girls what they are doing for 10 kilometers, 5 kilometers. Then what you suggest about that?
They have to reduce their training and make sure that they have, one most important is a good footwear. Normally people do not take care of good footwear. They compromise in terms of either money or comfort or fashion, but a good footwear is very, very important. It has to cushion your ankle and your knee, especially as you grow old. Second is, do not overtrain. We have this habit of, I am starting 5 kilometers now, 10 kilometers now. Improve gradually. Let your body improve. Go into it slowly. Don't just get into training once and for all. Third thing, in case you're following all these things and still the injuries are there, take care of your diet. Diet is very important. If diet is also not helping, then there are some supplements like collagen, and then there is curcumin, there is this chondroitin sulfate. All these help in healing these injuries fast.
Okay. So I have a question, ma'am, similar to what Shaili has asked. So people who are planning to start their 10K or, the half marathon, or, most of the people they are starting, right? So what kind of the protein, what would be their daily requirement of protein? And since, is it like 1 month before the program, or what would be the duration that they have to start with the proper protein supplementation and all?
If you ask me, there is nothing like a short-term protein intake.
Okay.
You have to make it as a lifestyle. Okay. It has to remain as your habit and become a routine, rather than just taking it 1 month or 15 days before a competition. Now, in case you feel that you're preparing for a competition or preparing for a marathon, which is 1 month away, then slightly increase your protein intake or moderate your carbohydrate intake according to your training or practice sessions. That will help you much better.
Okay. And what could be for general audience? What do you suggest for general audience?
Normally 0.8 to 1 gram of protein is more than enough. So
Okay.
see that it comes from your diet. If you cannot make it up from your diet, and if you're above 20, 22 years, you can take a very good whey protein, which will really help you in improving your lean body mass for a short time. Maybe not getting the body used to these proteins, but try as much as possible to get it from natural diet sources.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. There is a question from Shalu Jain. Suggest some food items of high protein.
Depends. If it's an animal protein, then egg whites are very good. Beef is a very good protein, which athletes, a lot of athletes use for its leucine content. The recovery of injuries and the lean body mass builds up very fast with beef protein, in case you're interested. Otherwise, mutton twice a week, once or twice a week. Chicken every day, or eggs every day, or fish every day is a very good source of protein. Apart from that, if you're looking at vegetarian proteins, paneer is a good source. Lentils, pulses are a very good source. But the only problem with vegetarian protein is they come with a lot of carbs and they come with a lot of fat. So you have to moderate how much you're eating based on the calories also. So protein versus calories is very important when you take, when you recommend a particular amount of protein for a particular person.
Ma'am?
Any other supplements that you recommend apart from protein and protein supplement, and any vitamins or minerals that you on a routine basis, not in an injury state or routinely they have to take?
Yes, in vitamins, vitamin C and vitamin D plays a very, very important role in athletes' health. And I've seen a lot of improvement even in lay people, not only in athletes, in terms of vitamin C is a very good antioxidant. And as you age, vitamin C levels are also reduced in the body. And of course, now during this COVID or pandemic stage, it is important for your immunity. So vitamin C is highly recommended. Vitamin D is again recommended because most of us are very low and deficient. When I see athletes also, when they're training in the hot sun, especially, but still even they are deficient. So vitamin D is a very good supplement to take. In minerals, I would go with zinc and magnesium. Magnesium does play a very, very important role nowadays. It regulates your sleep. And if you're getting enough grains and lentils, your magnesium is taken care. But in case it is not, I would suggest go ahead with magnesium. It will help you sleep as well at night. And of course, calcium and zinc and iron, of course. These are the 4 minerals that I would really stress on.
Okay.
Ma'am, can you focus on knee injuries and meniscus tear and ligament tear?
See, doctors will differ here. They tell that nutrition really has no role here. And I would also partly agree with them here, because it is mainly a fracture stage or a tear stage at that particular, and wound healing at that level is very difficult only with nutrition. So the only thing that as a nutritionist that you offer is, I've seen collagen acting very well. Then there is a supplement which is collagen plus chondroitin sulfate. So these two together comes as a brand, and they work very well for knee injuries or ACL tears. But as such, it is not been proved. So it is just an individual intake. If it helps, it will only fasten the healing process. That's it.
Okay. We have another question from Vasudha Mathur, ma'am. She's asking, what is your say on bone soup?
Vasudha, you shouldn't be asking that. Most athletes take a lot of bone soup, and it helps. It really helps. But I've seen most of the competitive athletes, they have a particular time every day in the morning where they make sure that they have bone soup.
Okay.
Which time is that?
In the morning, in the breakfast. And
the
some of them, in
breakfast.
fact, have it before the breakfast also on empty stomach.
I
Okay.
see. Okay. And the sports people, they have a training period and actually event period. Just before event, what they have to take? Do they take a normal meal or any special snacks or something that generally recommended for them?
Depending on the sport, like for example, if it is a sprint, which is say about a few seconds, what you have just before the event doesn't matter at all.
Okay.
But if it is a game of say 1 minute, it matters. So what we give is 15 minutes before the game. That fuels up the person or the athlete, and that gives him the energy to take part in the event or that particular training schedule. But if it is a game like football or if it's a game like hockey, then we take care of two particular timings. One is 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours before the game, as well as 15 minutes before the game. So 2.5 to 3 hours before the game is a major meal where it's it's a high carbohydrate, moderate protein meal and low fat. And in the 15 minutes just before the game, it's a pure simple carbohydrate meal. So it's a banana or biscuits or a bread and jam. Those kind of foods are given just before the game.